Hi there everybody, welcome to this week's edition of The Verdict. So we've got 6 races for you this week. Principally we'll concentrate on Sandown Park on Saturday afternoon, where they had the Solario Stakes and the Atalanta as well. And we'll also go to Beverley. It was Beverley a bullet day. It was a huge crowd there, a very sunny day and some interesting racing. Got a couple of races from there for you. But we're going to start at Kempton Park. They staged an interesting card on Wednesday, and it's a 2-year-old that I want to have a look at. Here are the times for the day. Standard to slow, the surface was described as. The time suggesting that was correct. It was a good time from Tenerife Sunshine, over 1 mile and 3 furlongs. You don't often get good times over that trip at Kempton because they normally crawl. The race I want to concentrate on is Local Hero, a 2-year-old debutant who won the opening contest. He was not favourite though, and not very well found in the market at all. A big run seemingly not expected. A big run was expected from the experienced Calvert, Evans. Al Nouri was 3-1, 4's Rich Harry, and Local Hero was a 13-2 shot, and quite weak in the market really, as was Amancio. So a mile was the trip here. Let's have a look and see how things panned out, and we'll pick out the principals in a moment. Local Hero from 5. Beat Rich Harry from 6, and Calvert from stall number 9 was back in 3rd place. And the first thing to note is that they were always prominent in this contest. Nothing came from off the pace. Now, I'm not sure this is a particularly strong novice because it was limited to horses in Band C and Band D. But nonetheless, the winner is very impressive indeed, beating a couple of horses who had previous experience. Your eye will tell you that they're not going that quick, and your eye would be right. The finishing speed percentage was 106.41 for the winner, so he's saving plenty of energy and able to finish off over 6% quicker in the final 3 furlongs than he ran the rest of the race. And that was much better than the runner-up, who was 103.28. So all those that raced towards the 4 saved energy and finished the race off strongly, but it was Local Hero in the stripes who had the best turn of foot, and an impressive turn of foot given that this was his debut up against experienced rivals. It's only the first 4 that need concentrating on. Nothing makes up any ground from the back of the field. Probably not a strong novice, but watch what this horse does. He fires a final 3 furlongs of 35.5, the runner-up 36.94, and as he quickens under Sean Levy now, his 7th furlong's impressive, 11.61. And that puts his rivals away very quickly indeed. And then after he's done 11.61, he was the only horse to dip under 12 seconds in the final furlong. Nothing else could go with him. They couldn't live with that 11.61 furlong. And in truth, he wasn't stopping at the line either. He's flashing the speed that he's bred for. He really is bred to be a sprinter. There's loads of sprinting in the damn side of the pedigree, but he's obviously a bit of an outlier. He stays a mile, this fella. He gets a mile no problem at all, and he is much better than these horses that set a reasonable standard in behind, and there's going to be a lot more to come from him. He's got a couple of entries to look out for. He's in a sales race at Newmarket, a valuable sales race, and the 2-year-old trophy at Redcar, another valuable contest. So it'll be very interesting to see where the Hannon team want to go with him, but it's not often that you see a 2-year-old as clued up as this on debut and able to quicken in the style that he did, and he put them away in the space of 1 furlong. That 11.61 did the trick, and nothing could live with him thereafter. And as I said, some of those in behind, the 2nd and the 3rd, well, they had a little bit of form, Rich Harry and Calvert. They set a fair standard for the grade, but he's absolutely destroyed them. He looks like a horse of some substance, and there's going to be a fair bit more to come from Local Hero, perhaps in a sales race. There could be a big payday on the horizon. Well, let's turn our attentions to Sandown on Saturday afternoon now. It was a really good card. The Solario and the Atalanta were their feature events, but there was other good contests, and particularly Dual Identity's handicap win. He was really impressive. He's about 16-1 now for the Cambridgeshire after thrashing his rivals in the 3 o'clock contest. Got 3 races we're going to have a look at. We'll look at Heredia winning the Atalanta, we'll look at Aablan winning the Solario, and Classical Song winning a novice at 4.10 for Rafe Beckett under Ryan Moore. But it's with Heredia where we start. over a mile in the 2:25 contest. Just a bit of ease in the ground, good to soft in places officially, and Heredia was the favourite. 5-2. Coppice was 5-1. Midnight Mile had been in good form, 11-2, coming back in trip. 6-1 Queen for You. Last year's winner Potapova, 13-2. Pure Play 11s, and it was 16-1, and bigger the rest. Quite a strong race. For example, Nibras Angel, unbeaten so far in 2 career starts, and there was a big price here. There's the 1-2-3. Heredia from 10 beat Queen for You from 7, and Potapova from 8, last year's winner, back in 3rd place. This was a difficult draw for Heredia, that's the first thing to say, and Sean Levy had to get her covered up. She's a filly who's got a fine turn of foot, she's got a burst of speed, she displayed it at Haydock when winning a listed race last time up, but she wants cover and a decent gallop to go at, and he was able to just drop her in and get some cover, and she's virtually last in this part of the race. It wasn't a mad gallop in the early stages. Roman Mist and Pure Play went on together, and they went quite steady in the early part of the race, and we had a finishing speed percentage for the winner of 106.62. So she's done pretty well. She's finished off quickly, 6.62% quicker than she ran the rest of the race, and she's picked up horses in front of her who were not stopping. She's just a class above these, I think, and possibly worthy of a step up in grade after this. Now, there's a little bit of trouble in mid-div, and I want you to keep an eye on this horse here, Novus, who we'll get to towards the end of the race, but got shuffled back at this point, having had a good midfield position, and now with the sheepskin noseband on, it's got shuffled back to virtually last, or at least sharing last at this point. So we've established that the winner's done really well from off the pace in a race that was not strongly run, and she did well because she has got a sharp turn of foot, and that has categorised all of her career successes to date. Her 6th furlong was 11.68. She's going to do that now. She's angled out round Potapova by Sean Levy, and then an 11.63. That seals the deal, but she's got to go and catch horses that are not stopping. Queen for You is not really stopping. Roman Mist isn't. Potapova's looking for an angle. Now look at Novus. Out in the clear now, Novus, having been shuffled back, roaring home towards the outside for Tom Queally, trained by Gary Moore. Horse to keep a close eye on. But Heredia, with that sharp turn of foot, it surged her to the front, and she's won the Atalanta Stakes going away, and is worth marking up for this performance because she was held up in a steadily run race. She really wants to be held up in a strongly run race, and her turn of foot will be a lot more potent if that is a scenario that she can encounter in the near future. Couple of things to note. Number one is Midnight Mile. She was a bit disappointing, but she got a very wide trip, and that did not help her at all. She's a filly with a smart turn of foot. She's had 2 quick runs, maybe she was feeling those, but she didn't get the best of trips through the race. I've mentioned Novus, sheepskin noseband. That horse didn't get the best of runs either. And in fact, Novus didn't just catch the eye, but was the fastest in the final furlong. Novus went 12.08 in that final furlong, running down Heredia, getting to Potapova in the closing stages. Good run from Novus, fastest in that final furlong, but Heredia did the damage in furlong 6 and furlong 7 with her customary sharp turn of foot. And I think she's worthy of a step up in grade now. Surely that's what they'll do with her. The Breeders' Cup was mentioned to trainer Richard Hannon afterwards in interview. He said that they were going to squeeze the lemon dry, I quote him, before the Breeders' Cup. So she's going to be kept pretty busy, and then they'll have a think possibly about the Breeders' Cup and what race they would go for. Sun Chariot springs to mind, doesn't it, at Newmarket, but she's not entered at this stage. So all options open for Heredia. She's got a sharp turn of foot, and she's better than the bare result in the Atalanta. Time now to have a look at a very interesting Virgin Bet Solario Stakes. It was a Group 3. It was over 7 furlongs for 2-year-olds. It's been won by really good horses in the past, Kingman, Massar, etc. And Aablan was 7-4 from 5-2 to win this for Charlie Appleby. Mortlake was 16-5. Starlore was 7-2. 4-1 Devil's Point. Inishfallen was 22-1. Caroline Bay was 25-1. It's Aablan who prevails here from stall 5 and gets the bet of Inishfallen from 3, and Devil's Point from stall 2 was back in 3rd. And significantly, a horse I'm going to talk about a lot in this race, Starlore, finished back in 4th place under Ryan Moore. What did we have here then from the start? A complete and utter mess is my answer to that. They crawled. There was no pace on whatsoever. You can see Inish Fallon's got to the front, has got a very easy lead here with Mortlake, who got very sweaty down at the start and very edgy, sat quite handy at this point. And the principals, Aablan and indeed Starlore, are both held up. So they've both got a fair bit to do, given that we've got a very steady gallop. The early fractions, here we go. Inish Fallon's gone 13.7, 13.2, 14.24, steadying round the bend, and then a 12.53. That's the first 4 furlongs, and then suddenly they put the accelerators on and they all dipped under 12 seconds. Suddenly it turns into a 3 furlong dash. And Aablan, whilst not really displaying a sharp turn of foot according to the figures, just kept rolling and outstayed his rivals in the end, and is better than the bare result. He certainly wants a much stronger gallop than he got here. Finishing speed percentage tells us what we want to know. 107.67. That's how slowly run this race was. Aablan in the Godolphin blue, struggling to run down the easy lead of Inish Fallon. And likewise this horse, Starlore, held up last by Ryan Moore, son of Kingman, trained by Sir Michael Stoute. 1 from 1 in his career to date. That win came here at Sandown, and he flies from the back of the field. He gets himself to the front, and then he can't go through with it thereafter. He uses up all of his petrol to go from last to first. He goes past Aablan, he just gets past Inish Fallon as well, and then he weakens out of it. He was fastest through the 5th furlong, 11.44, and the 6th furlong, 11.74. And not surprisingly, he fired the fastest final 3 furlongs in the race. But look at him getting tired now. He used up all of his energy to chase down horses who were picking up in front of him. He got to the front, and then he paid for that. And I think he deserves a massive sectional upgrade. I'm rating him as the winner of this race, given what he did according to the course track sectionals. But I'm not taking anything away from Aablan. He's run down a horse in Inish Fallon who got an easy lead, and he's battled on really gamely, and he looks like a very tough horse. He gets back in front of Starlore, about half a furlong out. That horse weakens, and Aablan, head down, battles all the way to the line. He's not a horse who wants a steadily run race, Aablan. That's what he got here, but he overcame adversity, as certainly did Starlore. Mortlake in behind had been really impressive in a fast time. He's got the green cap at Leicester when he won on debut. He lost his race beforehand, I think. He got very sweaty, washed out, the Americans would say he was. He was in the right state, and I don't think he gave his running. Starlore did. Look, he's in front there, Starlore. Then he pays for that massive effort from the back of the field. This is a first 2-year-old pattern winner this year for Charlie Appleby. Some have been saying that he's not in any sort of form. Well, if you look at his numbers, he's in tremendous form. He's just not been winning the big races because he had a very poor Goodwood, didn't he? And after that, everyone's been shouting that he's not in form. Well, he is in form, and he's now got a pattern race success. The unbeaten Aablan coming back in. And one further point about Starlore. I know he had a big surge from the back of the field, and it's obvious that he's a very talented horse. But when he won here last time, he idled in front, but he beat Arabian Crown. Arabian Crown finished 3rd that day, and Arabian Crown went on to win the listed Stonehenge at Salisbury. He is a very good horse, and Aablan is better than the bare result as well. But Starlore, the one to take out of that one. Okay, we stay at Sandown on Saturday afternoon, and we're going to have a look at a maiden fillies stakes over 7 furlongs. Classical Song was the odds-on favourite on the back of a 2nd place on her debut for the Rafe Beckett team, and Ryan Moore was booked to ride. Beautiful Love was 3-1. Sky Woman was 10s, in from 16s. Interesting support for that horse. Circe was 11-1. So was Monte Rossa, and it was 18s, and bigger the rest. And Classical Song did not let punters down, coming from stall number 4 under Ryan Moore, and got the better of Beautiful Love. Godolphin horse in 2nd place from 8, and 3rd home from stall number 3 was Circe, a newcomer from the Richard Hannon yard. He's got his horses in a really good form, as we saw with Heredia and Local Hero earlier on in the show. Monte Rossa goes to the front from the outside gate in the white caps, going past Beautiful Love early on, and sets the pace. Ryan Moore sits pretty handy on the eventual winner, who's in the middle of the pack just here. Ryan sitting nice and handy, and Monte Rossa will cross and lead in a moment, and Ryan will get a bit of cover. Overall, I felt this was quite evenly run. It certainly wasn't a crawl. 103.81 was the finishing speed percentage. So the winners finished off fairly strongly, 3.81 quicker than she ran the rest of the race. And I think she idled once she got to the front as well. She certainly took a while to pick up when Ryan really asked her, but she was well on top by the finish. So we'll keep an eye on her. She's in second place at this stage, and we're also going to keep an eye on a horse that's going to go in your racing TV trackers. It's called Sky Woman, who finished in fourth place in the end on debut under a hands and heels ride from Tom Marquand for William Haggis, and was very eye-catching indeed. Final 3 furlongs then for Classical Song from about now as Ryan's beginning to wind her up. 37.09. The runner-up much slower, 37.51. So a fair bit between them. That's showing that she's pretty dominant in the closing stages. Classical Song. You can see Sky Woman beginning to run on in behind now. She's not going to be given a hard time, and she'll run on really stoutly in the closing stages. The 7th furlong, 12.97 for the winner, winning with plenty in hand. Remember, they're running uphill. You thought that might be a little bit quicker than that, but they're running uphill, and I think she idles a bit. There she goes, pricking her ears. She's not doing a right lot out in front. Sky Woman, though, was fastest through the 5th furlong, 11.67, and the 6th furlong, 12.19, and he's a very interesting horse going forward. We'll stop it there. This is Sky Woman, who's looking for a bit of room, eventually getting out and running on really well under hands and heels. And the other one to mention is Circe. For a newcomer, this was a good effort, travelled almost best in the race, travelled really strongly, and then was a bit green off the bridle and hung to her right and didn't really go forward off the bridle. But there's going to be more to come from that filly. The Classical Song, she looks pretty useful for the Rafe Beckett team. We've got the horses in great nick at the moment. But look at Sky Woman in behind there. Green sleeves, green cap. Nowhere to go really at this point. Tom Marquand just looking after her, and she's going to really benefit from this experience and probably win next time up. The winner here, Classical Song, well, she's entered in the Group 2 Rockfell Stakes and the Group 1 Fillies Mile. So quite well thought of clearly by the Beckett team. And the point I'd like to make is that she did take a while to pick up, a few palpitations for odds-on backers, but she was well on top in the end, and her final 3 furlongs suggest that she was dominant in this race, and I don't think she was doing a tap. Once Ryan put his whip down, the ears go forward, and I don't think she did a right lot in the closing stages. There they go. She's not doing anything. She's looking around her, and there's going to be a fair bit more to come from her. And Sky Woman as well, back in 4th place, and she might be the equal of this filly. She might be the equal of Classical Song with this run under her belt. But Ryan Moore doesn't ride for Rafe Beckett very often. When he does, take note. Let's turn our attentions to Beverley on Saturday afternoon now. It's their big day of the year, Beverley Bullet Day, and there were some interesting performances on this card. Americ took the opening race, and Kurdos was a very good winner of the big race at 2:40. 3:15 Leodis Dream just about made every yard of the running. Zenjabila completed a double for Roger Varian and Jack Mitchell, and the first leg of which was Americ, and that's the race we're going to have a look at first of all. Then we'll take in Zenjabila thereafter. And Americ was back off the board, 7-4 from 3-1. That was very late money for this horse, really heavily punted as they were going in the stalls. Dream Harder 4-1, Fulfilled 9-2, Big Drifter Perfect Play 9-2, and it was 13-2, and bigger the rest. Right, let's have a look at what happened. Americ came from stall 6. Second home was Perfect Play from 5, Joe Fanning for the Johnsons, and Dream Harder came from stall number 1. This is a performance of real merit, I think, from Americ, and I think he's way better than his rivals here, and he is going to be an interesting horse in high-end handicaps going into the autumn. Why was this so impressive? Well, the gallop was very steady. Omniscient goes on with Perfect Play in the early part of the contest with the Dream Harder, who was placed back in 3rd place, and Americ dropped off the pace by Jack Mitchell and a good few lengths. Look at this, they steadied it there, and Perfect Play wanted to run out by the looks of things on that bend, and here's the winner in there, ceding an easy lead to those in front and a few lengths as well. Yet his turn of foot gets him out of what I would call positional trouble in this race. He was last seen in July. He was really disappointing at Newmarket. Something must have gone amiss, something must have gone wrong. And I think he's had a few issues through his career. He's had a wind operation at one point of his career. But he's certainly back on track after this. Now, how steadily was this race run? Well, very steadily, really. The finishing speed percentage, 109.23, which tells you two things. Omniscient got his own way out in front, and Emeric finished the race very fast. And always impresses me when horses that stay a mile and a half can quicken like he did in the closing stages. The second horse is in yellow, sharing the lead at this stage, Purple Play. So he's got a massive positional advantage over Emeric, just niggled there, Emeric, by Jack Mitchell, just to pick up the bridle once again. And they'll slow coming down the hill. Omniscience, you've got to rate as being disappointing because he's got a very easy lead and he's bowling along with his ears pricked. But it's the final 3 furlongs where Emeric absolutely destroys this field. He'll be angled out by Jack Mitchell and he will fly home, and he'll prove himself to be the fastest through each of the final 3 furlongs. So he'll catch horses who are picking up well in front of him and he'll surge away from them as well. He was 0.71 seconds quicker than the runner-up in the final 3 furlongs, 0.71. That equates to 4 1/4 lengths. So in 3 furlongs, he caught Purple Play and he put 4 1/4 lengths between himself and that horse. That's a really good effort from Emeric. His 11th furlong of 11.61 is quick for a stayer, quick for a mile and a half horse, and that's what enabled him to run down those in front of him and surge away. He went 11.79, then that 11.61, and then 12.06 in the closing stages when he's down a little bit by Jack Mitchell. I think he's miles better than these, and there could be a fair bit more to come from Emeric. I've no idea where they're going to go with him. The November handicap crossed my mind. I wondered if that would be a possibility for him. I'm not sure he's always going to want softish ground because he moves really well and he's got a sharp turn of foot, so often that race can be run in heavy ground and that really wouldn't suit him. I think he'd stay further, but what you'd have to say from the numbers is that he's got loads and loads of speed. He's won against the run of the race here. Look at him quickening up with that 11.61. That's rare speed for a stayer from the back of the field, ridden confidently by Jack Mitchell. He obviously knew what was underneath him. Horse with a real engine, and if they can keep him right now, there is a big handicap in him in the near future, I would have thought. I was really impressed with the way he quickened up there to give the Varian team the first leg of a double there at Beverley. And his strike rate, Roger Varian's strike rate at Beverley, is 46%. 13 winners from 28 runners. That's some going. Final race we're going to have a look at on the verdict today is the 350 from Beverley on Saturday afternoon. It was a fillies novice. There was 7 furlongs. Zenjabila was the odds-on favourite at 10 to 11. Miss Roberts 2 to 1, a bit weak in the market. Supreme Beauty is a newcomer 7 to 1. Zainab was 8 to 1, and it was 25s and bigger the rest. And it was the odds-on favourite who prevailed. Zenjabila getting the job done for Jack Mitchell and Roger Varian, giving them that double. Stall 2 for the winner. Miss Roberts from stall 3. And Supreme Beauty, one to keep a close eye on in this race, was 3rd from stall number 8. Let's have a look and see what happened through this race. I think the first thing to say is that Zenjabila did well. She got trouble in running and she did well to overcome it. Just look at this newcomer, Supreme Beauty. Missed the break at the back, ceding a few lengths to every other horse in the race. And that's quite relevant when it comes to the final couple of furlongs, and Supreme Beauty does shape very well indeed, both visually and on the clock. Also, evenly run contest, I think. Finishing speed percentage was 102.96, so they didn't mess about. Watchapai went to the front and set, I think, an even gallop, bowling along down the hill at Beverley, with Zenjabila in a nice spot. Actually sat in 3rd place here, travelling well. She's lightly raced. She came here on the back of a win at Southwell, where she won with loads in hand on that all-weather surface, and here she's proved that she can handle turf and the turns and undulations of Beverley. She's in a bit of a pocket now, and this is where the trouble's going to start for Jack Mitchell, and he's going to have to try and fashion a passage through. He's just stuck in a little bit of a pocket at this stage. Overcoming troubling running with a strong final furlong, I think it'd be fair to say, for this winner. 12.6, which is strong compared to the rest of them, and she was well on top at the line, and she surged through the line quite quickly compared to the rest. Now she's got some running room, and look who's up on her outside. Having completely fluffed the start, Supreme Beauty, a newcomer who's got in contention and been able to make up that ground and actually have a chance of getting into the winner's enclosure, but weakens in the closing stages as Zengibila gets a run and now picks up quite well and outstays her rivals in the closing stages. Supreme Beauty still boxing on towards the outside, learning all the time and just nabbing third place in the closing stages. And if you look at Supreme Beauty's figures, this horse was faster through the final 3 furlongs in furlong 6, 11.74. That was a good effort from Supreme Beauty. That was quicker than the winner and faster than the first 2 through the final 3 furlongs as well. Supreme Beauty 36.34, winner 36.37. Not much between them, but Supreme Beauty, a debutant, was still quicker in the final 3 furlongs than the 2 horses that beat her. That's because she had to make up a lot of ground from the back. So that's a pretty good effort from a newcomer, and I venture to say that she's going to be winning a race in the near future. But Zengibila, a good performance, a staying performance under Jack Mitchell, and overcoming a bit of trouble in running. You can mark her up because of that. She had to switch here. Supreme Beauty, if she'd been a little bit quicker, she could have probably kept her in there, probably edged to her right and kept her in, but couldn't do that, didn't have the speed to do that. And Zengibila fires that quickish final furlong of 12.6 compared to the rest of them to get the job done and complete that double for Jack Mitchell and Roger Varian. You see, Jack's not too hard on her in the closing stages. He's just pushed her out hands and heels. I don't think it's very strong form, but I think she's improving. She's going places. She's won 2 in a row now, and there will be more to come from her. And indeed, Supreme Beauty, who should go in your racing TV tracker. Not just an eye catcher, but also if you look at the figures on the Racing TV website in the results section, you'll see that she was pretty impressive in those final 3 furlongs. So that was the final race and the verdict today. I hope you enjoyed looking at all 6 of those contests. What we saw this week was some horses that are doing well against adversity, against pace adversity. Americ in particular, over 1.5 miles, being able to quicken up from the back of the field and was very impressive when winning at Beverley. Heredia likewise in the Atalanta, quite steadily run the Atalanta. She was able to quicken up and flash her speed and overcome being in a poor position and overcome the gallop. And Starlore, the horse I'm taking out of this week, who in a very steadily run Solario, held up out the back, quickened to the front, went past everything, fired 2 really fast furlongs and then paid for doing that in the closing stages. If that race had been run in a different fashion, Starlore might have been a ready winner and we could have been talking about him in terms of the Dewhurst or something like that. So don't rule him out in better company going forward. He couldn't be in better hands, the hands of Sir Michael Stoute. That's it for the verdict this week. Don't forget my verdict extra column on the website. That'll be there tomorrow evening. For now, that's it. I'll see you next week.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.